How does inflation affect real estate prices? We're going to talk about that in this video. That's right. Talk about the relationship between prices going up, prices going down, there's deflation too, and how it affects real estate prices. By the time you're done, you'll understand the relationship and the reason everybody talks about the two so much in parallel terms in a lot of ways. That was a big word, parallel. Listen, stick around. I've got some really cool stuff at the end. A little free gift for you for watching and paying attention to all this stuff. So make sure you stick around. And I got some nice little bonuses for you at that point. So let's just talk about what inflation is. I mean, inflation is just too much money being out there in the market. Literally, the feds will print a bunch of money. And you've seen it in Argentina. You've seen it in all the, you're spending more money than you have. You know, it can get out of control. You know, when you've got the United States that's running a deficit of $1 trillion every 90 days or so, and during the COVID, they're printing money, we're seeing inflationary forces on it. Now, it's not the first time it's happened. For those of you that are old enough, that would be me, you'll remember back in the Carter administration, again, a one-term president, interest rates on mortgages, you think they're high at 7%? They were at 18 to 20% for mortgages. You know, what we've got going on right now is hardly a scratch in the bucket. So what happens is you've got a bunch of money chasing small amounts of goods. That's what goes on, and you're gonna have inflation. Then you've got the Federal Reserve that comes in there and increases the overnight Fed rate between the banks to stop. In other words, interest rates go up, lending stops, cools the economy down. So they're trying to play a magic trick with the economy and kind of set it, instead of letting it do what it does. Now, I'm not going to get into the arguments of whether that's a good thing or not, because there's really good arguments to not have it, and there's really good arguments to have it. There's no way that we could have grown the world economy, and when I say we, I'm saying the United States, the way we have since World War II. You know, we've freed up the trade paths like it's never been done in the history of mankind, and all that stuff. That takes money, that takes currencies going back and forth, and there you go. Now, how does that affect home prices? It does affect home prices because inflation goes up and the cost of building goes up. I built a property in Joshua Tree that was $352,000. 1 year later, it was costing us almost 30% more to build the same exact property. Land was already purchased, so that wasn't part of the inflation process. It was the hot water heaters, the 2x4s, the windows, etc. Everything went up literally that much in 1 year. So there's an inflationary force on that. So if I have to pay $350 to build a house and then 12 months later to build the same one, it's going to be $350 or $450, that's inflation. That's going to cause the price of houses to go up, number one. Number two, it's so simple, supply and demand. What's crazy when I talk to people and they're asking me about real estate and they're saying, well, what do you think this thing's worth? I don't think anything. I know it's worth X because it's such a market, you know, if you want to call it pure capitalism play, it's unbelievable. So if I've got a property that's pink with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it's 2,000 square feet, and there's another pink house down the street with exactly the same dimensions, and it sold for $250,000. Last month, guess what my house is worth? $250,000. The market has spoke. So I can say, yeah, but I've got really nice color pink on my house. It's the best pink that Sherwin-Williams makes. Doesn't matter. Mine's got a super duper refrigerator that makes ice creams. Doesn't matter. You overbuilt. So what drives real estate prices is supply and demand, number one. Now, inflation's going to kick that in when it comes to building properties also. I mean, and then, so if I've got property, for instance, the one I was talking about, so it's going to cost me $100,000 more to build the same property. Well, that makes us pause. So then we sit there and go, well, because of inflation, I don't know if we want to build this. There's less housing available on the marketplace. So therefore, there's less inventory, which drives the price up. So it's an indirect way. There's such a symbiotic relationship between inflation and the price of properties. You can't speak about one without the other. Now, Can real estate prices go up without inflation? 100%. Happens all the time. I'm just saying that inflation has a key role in all of that. The one way to curb a lot of this is to figure out how you're buying the properties. And the best way to buy a property when you're first getting into the marketplace is get a distressed property or a property that needs work where you can go in there and do your sweat equity. Sweat equity is where you're painting and doing your own thing. That's number one. So you find a property, you find a good deal on it, you fix it up, that brings up the value. You've ridden the wave of a past inflationary or market condition situation. So instead of having to pay $300,000, you pay $2, put $20, now it's worth $300,000. So you just built yourself $80,000 worth of equity on that because, price value and inflation took the rest of it up. The other way to do it, which is the way I prefer, is doing it through tax liens and tax deeds. So when I go into a market and I find, well, here's a really good example. There was a property that just came up and the opening market price, the back taxes on the property were $27,000. That was the opening bid. Now the value on the property was $716,000. Okay, I doubt I'm going to get the property at the opening bid of $27,000. But if I know for a fact that this property in prime condition is worth $719, we're going to go with 700 for easy math, friendly math, right? $700,000, I've got a lot of room to buy. I could pay $400,000 for that property and still have $300,000 worth of equity. So what I did essentially is got in a time machine and I went back in time and I bought that property before some inflationary pressures or market conditions drove that price up. What a way to get involved. So you're like, oh, I missed the boat. Oh, by the way, me and H.G. Wells, we got our own time machine. We're going to go back. We're going to buy it at this price. It's a brilliant way to make it happen. There are several things you need in order to buy properties at a tax deed sale. You need to know when the sale is coming up, if they have them. You got to do the research on the property. All of those things are factors within this. You have to have that information, and it's key to do this. Now, I've got a brand new course that teaches you how to do this, and I'll give it to you for free. Okay, I want you to learn how to go out there and do this and do it correctly. Okay, all you got to do is click the link down below. I'll show you exactly how to find these properties, evaluate the properties, and make the best deal possible. This will provide you and your family with financial independence. This is Saen Higgins saying God bless and good luck. We'll see you out there.